Okay, good morning everyone. A very warm welcome to this next panel on the Global Gateway Initiative. And the set has been framed by the Commissioner's message, but also by the introductory remarks of the Foreign Minister. And what we are going to discuss now in the next 45 minutes is basically an initiative, to all those of you who may have not heard of it, that was launched in 2021 by the European Commission. And it's a large-scale infrastructure and investment initiative that is aimed to mobilize up to 300 billion in investments up until 2027. The interesting part of it is 150 billion of these investments are supposed to be mobilized in the African region. And the moment this initiative was launched, it was lauded by many and criticized by others. So what we are going to do today with this very eclectic panel that I have the honor to introduce to you in a second is to juxtapose different perspectives and perceptions of the initiative in order to get a better grip and a better understanding of where we stand and where we go. So it is my great honor to introduce this panel of esteemed experts. We have the Foreign Minister of Estonia with us, Margus, who already had the keynote, and he's going to represent a EU member state perspective, but not only any EU member state's perspective, but arguably the digitally most advanced European member state. So we're very curious to hear your points of view. Then next to the Foreign Minister, we have the Minister for Telecommunications, Information Technologies and Social Communication of Angola, Mr. Mário Augusto da Silva Oliveira. And in your capacity as Minister in Angola, you will obviously share your perception as one of the potential partners of Global Gateway. What works, what does not work, how is this project or this initiative perceived in a partner country. A very warm welcome to you. We have with us David Ringrose. He is representing the EU institutions. He is head of digital at the European Director of the European External Action Service, and he has a long-standing career in digital cooperation, also involved in the D4D, Digital for Development Hub, and he will give us the EU institutional perspective. And we have already mentioned 300 billion to be mobilized, so we need to also speak with development finance institutions, with finance institutions. And we have here a representative of a big lender of the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development. Very warm welcome to you, Jacek Kubas, with also extensive experience in private sector reform. So we will see what a bank representative has to say to Global Gateway. And last but certainly not least, the private sector is with us, with Rene at Ericsson, and we are very curious to learn your perspective. What is missing? What is there? What needs to be done with regards for Global Gateway to become more effective? And now, without further ado, let me ask you the first question, Mr. Foreign Minister. As I said, as one of the digitally most advanced nations in the EU, how does Estonia leverage its expertise in cybersecurity, in digital products, in order to make Global Gateway work?
Thank you for this opportunity to participate here. And I didn't know actually that yesterday we had a Men's Day. I couldn't, International Men's Day. Couldn't have a day off. Now we have a full manpower here. Yes, we have this experience about more than 20 years to digitalize our society, and we have 99% of our public services online, except marriage. We have decided that at least the marriage should be something that people meet at least once physically, but it needs as well the protection. So we have tools about the cybersecurity. But the Global Gateway is a tool which is brilliant, and it was introduced 21. I'm actually coming from Africa. I was in a visit to South African Republic, but also I was before that in Latin America, in Argentina, Colombia, Chile. And Estonia is very active in Africa. We have several partner governments and countries supported by the Team Europe to support and share the experiences about how to digitalize the public sector, how to do it together with the private sector, because there is one thing what we have is the cooperation and development processes with the private sector. We have done most of our developments with them, and only innovation can come together with them. But what can I see is the Global Gateway opportunities. There was the amount of money, like 300 billion euros. It is something we can do. But also, I'm criticizing a bit as well, and I do hope that the new Commission is overlooking and overviewing that we are in a position that the global gateway should not be only about the big and strategic infrastructure projects, but also it needs to bring in the countries like Estonia as a smaller countries more actively, because we are not able, together with the private sector, to create this kind of like the global projects maybe. But our experiences together with this MSAs is really useful. So I see this opportunity as well. We have this experience about the flagship list projects in Ukraine. It's not in Africa right now, but it's about how can we rebuild the systems of kindergartens and education. And it's not investing only to infrastructure and buildings. It's about training teachers. It's about digitalization. It's about e-solutions. It's about the whole structure. So from our perspective, Global Gateway is something that can tie together the values from European side, democracy, transparency, all that, but be also very practical. But we need to change it more flexible about the medium-sized enterprises, but also not so strategically big countries, but all the member states who has the special skills. And the most important is that we are not coming somewhere to say what one or the other country must do, but we are offering the partnership. This is totally different offer from European Union side than maybe it was from the past when we're coming in as, helping to develop something. No, we are offering the partnership, strategic partnership for a long, long time, making changes, but also offering this value-based security that we are a reliable partner for a very, very long time.
Yeah, thank you very much for this pledge for hands-on expertise, for the diversity that we can see within the European Union, including small member states is another point I took with me, but also acknowledging the needs of partner countries. And you mentioned Africa 5 times, so let me turn to the Minister. Angola is one of the countries that is very much engaged in fostering its connectivity, advancing digital infrastructure, but also streamlining its regulation. So my question to you would be, where do you see an initiative like Global Gateway fit into your national development and ICT development efforts?
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to thank the Estonia government for this invitation to be here, part of this summit. We in Angola, we are focused in the infrastructure, as you said, because we believe that with a strong infrastructures, we can reach and we can provide good service to our people, our citizens. And also, Angola is fully open for a strong partnership that governs its digital acceleration and truly become a digital economy that is available for our citizens. We see with great interest good partnership with the Global Gateway, especially in investments in the training and in programs that provide the increase of the digital literacy in country. We open to a strong advantage partnership that brings real benefits to our economy, to our development, of which I highlights the issue of training. That is one of our priority. We believe that with the training of our people, we are also a young country. We have a young population, and our population is waiting for development a real digital economy in Angola. And the Global Gateway can be and must be an important partnership. We are waiting, for example, to install in Angola a cybersecurity academy. We are looking for someone that works with us for AI Academy, because these two, this one, of course, will help our economy. And if we are focused and experience of Estonia. Estonia has a good experience in this because Estonia started in a lower level, and now is in top level of Europe, of world. And we are working with Estonia government to reach this goal, to be 99% of digital, apart of the...
Not marriage.
Not marriage, yes. And it is the focus that we are looking for. Digitalization, training, our economy. Because in terms of the infrastructure, we have a space program. We launched 2 years ago was telecommunications satellite. We are now working on national broadband by fiber to cover all the country. We have connection with all the countries in the border, DRC, Namibia, Zambia, and we can be the engine of SADC region to promote the digitalization of all the region around our country. This is our focus.
Yeah. Thank you very much for providing us with this comprehensive picture of Angola's ICT avenue. And one point I want to pick up is basically the point on skills and training of the young population. And let me turn to you, David, because the European Union and also the European External Action Service are committed to advance a connectivity project that is not only focusing on infrastructure per se, but comes with a whole set of principles, values, and norms. And part of it is obviously ownership of partners, and another part is this human-centric approach. So my question to you is, how do you unite those two dimensions of hard interests and values, and what is the EU doing in order to advance this double agenda, basically?
Thanks very much. Thanks for the possibility to talk today. I think it's a very good opportunity to highlight the role of Estonia on the global gateway in two ways. I think, firstly, the D4D hub that Commissioner Urpilainen mentioned was set up originally by Estonia, together with another EU member state. And I think trusted connectivity was a priority theme of the Tallinn Digital Summit in September 2021. And when the Global Gateway Strategy came out 2 months later, trusted connectivity was at the heart of the Global Gateway Strategy. And I think the EEAS have been happy to try to promote that. In answer to your question, I think we've tended to highlight a lot the infrastructure. I think it's very visible. It makes it clear what the global gateway is. It makes it clear that we're moving from a donor-beneficiary relationship to investment relationship, which is what a lot of our partners are looking for. And so we have a lot of this digital infrastructure. The Bella cable was mentioned, the Medusa cable across the Mediterranean. Now we're looking at the Blue Ramen cable. We're looking at the Eurafrica cable so that we can have triangular connectivity between Africa, Latin America, and Europe, and so on. So there's certainly a lot of infrastructure involved. But I think if we look at Africa, what we're trying to do as well is to build the kind of packages that respond to the issues you've been talking about. How do we combine infrastructure with standards, values, and so on? The bigger projects together with the ones that require perhaps a little bit more smaller, more niche projects, and so on. And I'll give a couple of examples. In the Democratic Republic of Congo, for example, we have a digital economy package that is looking to invest in fiber optics in backbone infrastructure, but also looking at combining that with energy, because we see far greater linkages between digital connectivity and the energy challenges associated with that, so investing in solar power for 5G towers and things like that, but also looking at supporting the National Cybersecurity Organization in the DRC, and also looking at how we can provide support to farmers for digitizing their services and so on. I think the first significant digital economy package was in Nigeria, where we're also trying to combine investment in cable and data centers together with digitizing the administration. I'm not sure what the status of the marriage situation is in Nigeria, but I'm sure it'll remain successfully analog for a long time. But also looking at supporting tech startups, skills development, particularly for women in Nigeria as a key element of that, and working with the government on the regulatory frameworks. So I think there we're trying to see how we can combine both the infrastructure and the skills, the administration, and so on. And then a couple of larger projects. The data policy in Africa, we see, for example, one of our, shall we say, competitors in Africa encouraging individual countries to locate all data on their own territory. In our experience in the European Union, opening up data within Europe, creating a big data market has been very positive, and we think this is probably something that's also going to be positive in Africa. So we're working with the African Union, with the regional economic communities and individual countries in a Team Europe initiative to try to see how we can support the African Union's data policy framework to see data as part of the African continental free trade area in order to build up the digital economy. And then finally, I think also we have a partnership with regulators, because of course telecom regulators are a key vector of policy and of the standards that you talked about and so on. So we're trying to see how we can work with the digital regulators in Africa as well to benefit from the experience that we have on all of the regulatory issues. So I think you're right, infrastructure has been very visible, but there's also an increasing amount of work to see how we can link that with all of the enabling framework that will boost the digital economy in Africa.
Yeah, thank you very much for answering this question. Also introducing this large and wide-ranging portfolio also includes, for instance, the twin transition. But when I listen to you, the question of like where does the money come from immediately comes to my mind, and this is how when I turn to you, Jacek, the EBRD is basically very active in the digital realm when it comes to its operations. So my question to you would be, how do you align your operations with the Global Gateway Initiative, and what has changed since 2021?
Great. Good morning, everyone. Real pleasure to be here. For us at EBRD, connectivity is at the core of what it is that we are doing. In the last 5 years, we invested over 23 billion euro in 600 projects that had connectivity element, and digital connectivity is part of that. And working together with European Union in terms of the Global Gateway and EFSD plus guarantees that our projects can benefit from and crowd in other private sector investors too has been really a great opportunity for the bank and for the countries where we invest. In terms of maybe more practical elements, where we really are bringing a lot of added value in terms of EU Global Gateways, that it's not only about the investments that we are providing, but also the advisory work that we can provide to the government in order to prepare that investments and work together on the changes to the policy. And the example of that is actually our joint project in Tunisia, where we spent a couple of years working with actually Estonian consultancy companies, because Estonia has been so great in terms of e-government and being able to bring that expertise to Tunisia, to work with the ministry there, to then prepare an investment and be able to provide financing that will benefit from EFSD plus guarantee and really bring those opportunities that are coming from the European Union and Global Gateway itself. It's fantastic and really fits into all of the strengths that development organizations have, like EBRD, and we of course don't work alone. We partner with other development banks in order to deliver, because the opportunities and needs are really vast. For those that maybe don't know us too well, so we are a development bank. We operate in over 38 economies, also investing here in the Baltics, and we've been around the block for quite a while, over 30 years, but what is really exciting, where I see another opportunity for us to do more in terms of global gateway, is our expansion to Sub-Saharan Africa. So we are just now opening our offices in 6 countries in SSA, so in Kenya, Nigeria, Senegal, Benin, Cote d'Ivoire, and Ghana. So that will be a huge need for connectivity investments. If you think about Africa, it has less data centers in the whole continent than the city of Paris has. So there are big infrastructure needs that need to, very nicely said, combine that twin transition, right? To think about green technology that really is helping to also mitigate or not impact in a negative way climate. For us, I think the other element on the not only on the investment side is really looking into three kind of sides. One is the connectivity, so how can we make sure we can roll out more broadband, invest in 5G telcos, and within that spirit of EU Global Gateway, but not to forget about skills. And I think that's really crucial. I'm sure later during the day you guys will have panel focusing on that. So people in countries and businesses can really take advantage of all that what technology has to offer to them, and then not to forget in terms of cybersecurity elements. So make sure that what we do in terms of the investments, we are providing it for really secure connectivity, which as CTO of Microsoft just mentioned, the attacks are increasing, and we see it in our countries post the war in Ukraine. The attacks in some of the neighboring countries increased by 600%, and that is impacting our clients. So we also have to factor that in all of our telco and digital connectivity investment. And then maybe finally, digital, you may think why the development bank is really interested in that field. And it is really important because we see how much digital is growing in terms of contributing to the economy, the labor market. You know, we see that position of digital as a part of the source of labor and income is extremely growing. So it is a fantastic opportunity for us to really leverage all what we can offer, which is not only an investment and being able to bring more investors to the table, but also providing the advisory work to our clients, bringing state-of-the-art consultants that can deliver, and work with the governments to create policies that come into place. So supporting and using opportunities that we have with EU Global Gateway, like I mentioned in Tunisia, or we had another cable investment in Azerbaijan together, we can bring all of that to the table, plus the private sector money, and amplify what is happening and what the EU has in terms of their plans.
Yeah. Thank you very much for sharing these insights. And if I just may take you on the private sector money, but also the huge infrastructure needs you hinted towards. It's not going to work without the private sector. And this is when I turn to you, Rene, in terms of like at Ericsson, how do you see your role in supporting the Global Gateway Initiative? What are the challenges, but also the opportunities in these public-private partnerships when it comes to establishing secure, trustworthy, and sustainable digital infrastructure?
Well, thank you very much for inviting Ericsson here, and there were actually many questions. In that questions, I heard role, opportunity, security, and trust, and sustainability. So if I start with the role perspective, just for those who are not aware, then Ericsson is a technology creator that designs, develops, configures, builds, and operates mobile networks around the world. Outside China, 50% of mobile data traffic goes through Ericsson systems. And we are present in more than 180 countries. So I think from a role perspective, the message is we are there, and we have a lot to contribute with. If I start with the opportunity, I think it is good to remind also some out there that Ericsson actually is the technology 5G leader in the world. 4 consecutive years, Ericsson has been assessed by independent analysts to be the technology leader. So, of course, the opportunity here is that we can offer globally technology-leading solutions. So Europe can offer something from a strength position, not from a weakness position. I think also it's to be important to also explain that when we talk about connectivity, people think of cable or maybe signals, but 5G, true 5G, is an open global innovation platform that creates the possibility not only to connect citizens through fixed wireless access or mobile broadband, that's what mostly people think about 5G, but also to connect harbors, mines, trains, logistical systems, manufacturing, agriculture. This is why we call this as an open global innovation platform. Just a reference point, going back before some of the Gs, before 5G, when it comes to mobile communication and the scale and the diffusion of technology, there are today more people in the world using mobile phones than there are people using toothbrushes. That's how far we have come when it comes to mobile industry. On the security side, I think what I would like to mention, not only is 5G the most secure G ever compared to previous generations, but also Ericsson has long-standing experience in securing mobile networks, and listening to what the previous speaker said about securing operations and so on. Ericsson has, for over decades, developed something which is called a holistic security approach that builds on ensuring security from standardization, from the vendor design, development, and product implementation process, how you configure the networks and how you operate them securely. Last year, OECD issued a paper on securing in critical infrastructure, and we're very pleased to see that the recommendation to governments from OECD when it comes to build a holistic security approach is built on this Ericsson framework. So please have a look, and if you want to know more, we're happy to give you more advice. On trusted connectivity, I heard being mentioned that several times. Well, I think the first good news is that there are more than 20 countries that have assessed suppliers for trust. And every time this has happened, Ericsson has been deemed to be a trusted supplier. This is not always the case with some of our competitors, but it is the case with Ericsson. So we are definitely offering you a trusted solution, which means that you can also be rely on what has been said before by other speakers. We are here for the long term, and we come with values and with benefits. On sustainability, before finishing off, again, it's a pleasure to mention again, independent analysts, in this case ABI, has assessed all the suppliers in this ecosystem, and again, Ericsson came on top as the most sustainable supplier, both when it comes its own supply chain and the products, the energy efficiency that we have in our products. So it is also a good choice to choose European here, because you will not only get technology leadership, but also sustainability, security, and trust in one package.
Yeah. Thank you very much for outlining Ericsson's offer. And when we take the toothbrush example, it tells us a lot about 5G, but it also tells us something about public health, I think, which is more worrisome. But the point I want to take up is like, this is this really hands-on operationalization experience that you shared and that the Foreign Minister pointed towards earlier. So we had now a first round where we basically focused on the upsides of Global Gateway, as far as I understood. Let us use the remaining time for being a bit more critical. And my first question would then again go to you, Margus, in the sense that we are 3 years in, and there was lots of criticism about what works in Global Gateway, what it is. Is it new money? Is it just old existing money being repurposed, and so on and so forth? So maybe you can share very briefly with us, what is your take on what does work when it comes to Global Gateway, and where may we need basically to alter the whole project?
You know, I'm not an expert about like all these 3 years of specific things, but the decision why European Union decided to create the Global Gateway is as well about the question not only supporting and helping these countries and partners which we have, which we potentially will have, but also it's a question about the position of EU and European countries globally. So I'm very frank. What I'm expecting is more visibility. It's more spreading these values we are standing for. Actually, we all talk about like democracy, we talk about transparency, we talk about all these rights and freedoms we all believe in. But as a foreign minister, and you see right now how the world is changing. It's going to be more divided than ever before in the 21st century, where technology, connectivity plays a strategic role for different nations, countries, and I can say even like the different parts of the world. And this kind of strategic investment projects as Global Gateway is, it's not carrying only the interest about economical interest in cooperation and development. It is carrying as well the interest of cooperation. So, very frankly said, strategic investments they're weaponized today as well. They are politicized as well. And if you are traveling our partner countries in Africa or in Latin America, Central America, globally, you can see the heavy competition. You can see China, you can see many other countries. But the question is, what is the price of these investments politically? If you understand me. If you will have a strategic investments from one or the other big player, there is always the price, what will be asked. And what I want to say is that as well to our partners, that EU and Global Gateway with these 300 billion euros and cooperation with these companies like Ericsson and many others who are following all these values, actually, what we are standing for, what we have agreed, it gives a long-standing, solid partnership. It gives a long-standing, solid, these value-based investments and also development, what we have, and also we can learn from these partners. So I was in Latin America, and I think that these many countries are looking for the EU cooperation, and Global Gateway is a brilliant tool for that, and also different countries in Africa. And these countries are all different countries. I mean that I can say from Estonian perspective, we are a small country somewhere in the north, and sometimes people thinking that Africa is one, Latin America is one. No, there are many different nations, countries, they have different goals, different values. And we need to understand that we need to bring all the medium-sized enterprises, medium-sized, smaller countries from Europe on board, but also we need to understand and offer and explain more visibly to our partners that we are actually, based on these values, long-term partners, that our price, our ticket together with investments, we are not asking anything back that you need to do something that you don't like in the future. And this is strategically very, very important. We offer the same level, how to say that it's a partnership. It's not just we would like to come in and ask just something back. And this is something that we need to think about if we see all these atrocities. It's a Russian aggression to Ukraine, but not only. It's about China. It's about North Korea in Europe. It's about Middle East. It's about all these kind of conflicts. But that is the battle for interest and values at the same time. So the Global Gateway is a tool to follow these goals.
Yeah. Thank you again for stressing this notion of partnership, but let me follow up on two other points. This is visibility and global competition in an ever more fragmented world. And Mário, can I turn to you with these two questions in a sense, like how visible is Global Gateway currently in Angola among policymakers, tech entrepreneurs, or the broader public, if at all? And the second question would then lead towards this competition element. How does it fit in with other offers that the country receives, and how do you navigate these different offers?
In fact, the minister said an important thing: do things. Global Gateway now in Angola is only present to send vaccines. But in terms of digital environment, nobody knows. Because, you know why? Because Global Gateway, up to date, did, in terms of technological point of view, did nothing for us. And in our point of view, it's time to change it. We're now fully open to collaborate with you, good partnership, because the world will be better if we reach the same level. If we continue in the situation that we are now, poor country and rich country, of course, the world will not be a good place and a safe place to live. And we are waiting for other countries of the world to help the African countries, to help Angola to reach this goal. It's why we are here in this summit, and also to tell all of you that now Angola is an open country. We are waiting for a good partnership to help us and to develop our country. And as I said in the beginning, it is important the schools, the training academy, because you can get technology all over the world, but if you don't have Angolans youth that deal with this technology, we are doing nothing. Okay? Now, for example, in Angola, we don't have Angolan expertise in cybersecurity. We are looking for a partnership, for academy. When we have some attack, we wait for someone from Europe or from USA to help us to solve the problems. And global, it is in a good position to help us to work in it, to solve this kind of issues. Please come to Angola, work with us. We are fully open to deal with you in good partnership. It is our focus now. We are investing a lot in the infrastructures, but it's time now to invest in academy, in training people with all the countries. And the minister said, I will repeat the important point, doing things. Not only these kind of summits, not only this speech, but in concrete. Africa has 45 countries. It's not just one country. And to be out of Africa waiting for information is not the right way. Come there, study the environment, the needs, our needs, as Angola, as an African, and according to this, drawing with us the good solutions. It is that we are looking. It's that one that we are waiting for other countries in the world. And we are waiting for the best for us. Doesn't matter who will be with us, working with us, solving our problems with our young people, with the government. This partnership, of course, will be a long term.
Yeah, thank you. I hear a message of openness, and another point that I think is very important, that's the difference between digital consumers and digital producers. And you're arguing basically through technical skills for the second one.
Yes, let me finish with this point. We are waiting to install in Angola with a good partnership what we call the telecommunication industry. For example, we import all the domestic router that all of us use at home. Why you don't install a factory in Angola, beginning for assembly and can go up to the R&D, the router, antennas. We don't have in Angola fiber optical industry. We don't produce in Angola. In Africa, maybe 2 or 3 countries that produce optical fiber. Antennas, telecommunications, routers. You know, we are waiting for this kind of investments in Angola.
Okay, and maybe one of our other panelists can address this open question. But before that, David, I mean, one of the debates that has been emerging is that in this fragmented world and the competition between China and the US is basically somehow dividing the European Union. Also, divisions within the European Union is hindering the implementation of large-scale infrastructure and investment frameworks. So my question to you would be, what is your take on this argument? And if there is anything to it, what does the EU, what does the EEAS do in order to overcome potential divisions within the European Union?
Yep. I was checking up my Anu Bradford yesterday on digital empires and so on to see how this is relevant, and I think you're quite right. I mean, we're in a transition period between the old and the new European Commission right now, but I think it's becoming very clear what we're planning to do. We have a lot of recommendations from the Draghi report, from the Letter report, and so on. We have great open invitations from our partners in Africa, and we'll certainly follow up from this on this with Angola. And what we need to do is not necessarily invent new initiatives, which is a bit of a Brussels disease, always something new each time and so on. Global Gateway will continue. It needs to move from, as we said, a startup to a scale-up. But also, I think now what is clear is that it's going to be much more integrated with our trade policy and our economic security strategy. And I think this is very much what you're looking at, because we have to see how we can integrate the interests of the European Union, as you said, the values and so on, with our partnerships in order to develop the kinds of partnerships that you talked about, Minister. And I think one very good example in Angola, the Lobito Corridor, our pitch to Angola, to Zambia and to the DRC, together with our partners from the US, was that we have a better offer. You want the best? We're the best. Why are we the best? Because we're not just looking at an extractive offer. We're not simply saying, how can we take all your critical raw materials and process them somewhere else? We want to see how can we enable you to extract raw materials in a sustainable way? How can we add local value in Estonia, in Angola, in Zambia, and in the DRC? How can we help SMEs develop on the back of that? There's a big digital component because there's a lot of transport, new railways and so on, very data-heavy industries as well. So what can we do to build on that as well? And I think so the Lobito Corridor project is a clear example of how we're trying to see what your interests are, what the interests of the European Union and our partners are, and how can we ensure that there's a better offer than the other ones that are on the market.
Okay, so Global Gateway is going to continue. It's going to be more integrated, and it's going to be the better offer. Jacek, do you think the funding and guarantee mechanisms that are in place are sufficient to make all this happen and to turn Global Gateway into a successful project?
I think for sure enough to turn the Global Gateway to a successful project. In terms of whether they are enough for the funding needs around digital infrastructure, these are enormous. So I'm sure they will contribute to, but there are still opportunities, and we look into that. I mentioned to you we are expanding to Sub-Saharan Africa, and we just look at the funding needs in terms of connectivity, digital connectivity there, and they're enormous. And I think when and you use this nice term that we're moving from the startup to a scale-up, and I think we now know how we can really greatly work together in that startup phase, so hopefully we can scale it up much more and also move towards doing that together in Africa. I think the point on cybersecurity is important. It's not only on the government side, but we hear it from our clients. So we set up actually as a bank a cybersecurity advisory practice for our clients to be able to provide them with an advice to make them more safe and secure, and also our investments. And maybe the last thing, the bit of a message I wanted to leave you with, because I like your comparison on the toothbrush, but we work that everyone has a mobile phone like a toothbrush. We work in the developing emerging economies, and I think that needs to be a little bit demystified, because we just did this year a survey. It's called Life in Transition. So we actually, together with the World Bank, went to the households of people living, for example, in Central Asia, and we asked 2 questions around digital. One was whether you are connected, have a mobile phone, and 75% of respondents said yes. But then we asked a follow-up question, whether you can actually send an email with an attachment, copy a file, or install a software. Only 30% of respondents said that they can do it. So there is a big, big gap. And what we don't want to happen in our countries as EBRD is this digital divide, that you really have people that take opportunities of the digital transition, but those that are left behind. And that's why we are putting so much effort, financing, and advisory work to bridge that digital divide and create opportunities for all of the economies where we invest.
Okay, thank you. We've heard where Global Gateway shall lead towards. So my question to you, the same basically. Do you think Global Gateway and the surrounding mechanisms can live up to its expectations? And from the private sector, if you had one wish, so to say, to the EU as a whole, what would it be in order to foster this initiative?
Well, thank you very much. I would maybe just come back to the points before. So I was personally involved in the MOU on 5G Innovation Hub that we concluded with Nigeria when we had the vice president to visit Ericsson. So we do work with partnerships on innovations. And actually for the Global Gateway, we have a number of proposals to actually create more innovation, 5G innovation hubs in Africa. So we are happy to see if that will progress. That will also include cybersecurity capacity building, particularly by thinking of the civil servants and the agencies to be able to understand how to protect critical infrastructure. On things, what needs to be done, I think it is important to put more focus and priority on action. And I think if there is one ask for the senior leadership is to not only focus on the vision and on the values, which is important, but also on execution. Execution needs to be a standing topic every week or every second week. How are we progressing? So I think if we're going to scale up, I think then the focus should be how are we performing on execution. I think that needs to be in focus.
Thank you very much with this very precise ask, and we reached the end of our allotted time. Unfortunately, we have to stop here. Otherwise, I would love to continue this conversation with you for another couple of rounds. But for now, let me ask you to join me in applauding our panelists and thanking them for these multifaceted insights, and we'll continue this discussion later on.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.